Welcome to the Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast, where you get multifamily investing made real. Learn from top players in the real estate investment world as they share their secrets with you and discover proven strategies on apartment investing that actually work. To learn more about Wheelbarrow Profits, visit jakeandgino.com, your one-stop shop for everything multifamily. Now to your hosts, Jake and Gino.
Hello, everybody. This is Jake Stenziano, host of the Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast, here with my co-host, the multifamily mentor, the coach, the chef, the father of six, the best-selling author, the G-Daddy, Gino Barbaro. Gino, how's it going?
Jake, I'm doing great. You know why I'm doing great? Because I can hear you loud and clear this week. Huh? How about that?
Listen, it's a miracle. We're going to get through this together, okay? Okay, my man. So today's guest is Scott Maurer. Scott is the Director of Business Development for Advance IRA. He and his firm help clients invest in real estate through Self Directed IRAs. Scott is a licensed attorney and graduated from the University of Florida Law School. So without further ado, Scott, welcome to the show.
Hey, Jake, Gino, great to be on with you guys today. Hopefully share some good information that people are either unfamiliar with or maybe don't have a clear understanding.
Thanks, Scott.
Ready to get edumacated here, so bring it on. So tell us how you got started with Advanta back in 2006.
I came out of law school, obviously looking for a job, and the owner of Advanta is an attorney, Jack Callahan, and met up with him. And the company was kind of in its early years. I got started with Jack hooking up on the legal side, and really I think the third or fourth person that was hired as part of the firm. We were up to over 20 people in our offices in Tampa and Atlanta. And kind of just have learned the business throughout. I've been there with the company for, I guess, over 11 years now. And it's been a great experience. And really learning about self-directed IRAs is something I didn't know anything about when I got started, certainly. But just over the years have gained a lot of different knowledge, met a lot of good people, and certainly have helped a lot of people as well in finding things that they can do with their retirement accounts that are not usually available to them.
Scott, what drew you to the company, specifically Advanta and I guess the self-directed IRA space?
Especially, I enjoy the fact that it was kind of a newer company with a lot of room for growth, and that's what I've personally had a lot of here at Advanta, and as well as the business seeing a lot of growth as well. So it drew me. It was neat. It was interesting. One of the things I like most about my job too is in my position as business development director. Over the years, have gotten out and met a lot of people. Part of the job has been networking and teaching classes and educating people about self-directed IRA accounts. So that's afforded me the opportunity to meet a lot of different real estate investors, CPAs, attorneys, realtors, financial planners. So it's been being able to touch a lot of different people and meet a lot of different people has been probably the most exciting part of the job.
Before I jump into really what self-directed IRAs are and what you do there and how you help people out, I'd like to know, you started in 2006. What did you see after the crash? I mean, what was your perspective on before, during, after, and now? What have you seen in the progression in the last 10 to 12 years?
Yeah, it was interesting because I was brought on initially in 2006, was right there at the height of the market, and the company was the company was really starting to have our initial spurt of growth from the kind of the bust, right before the bust. And so it's kind of interesting. We saw a decrease in business kind of immediately following when that fall off happened. But the interesting thing to me that happened in probably 2007, later 2008 and 2009, was we did see a lot of savvy investors taking advantage of the crash. I don't know how many times I signed a contract, somebody trying to buy a single family home, putting an offer in at $40,000, using their IRA account. So there were people who were savvy and really jumping back in to take advantage of some of that. But then as the market did start to rebound, I think as people kind of realized that maybe the bottom had been hit and we were starting to bounce off, definitely more people have been interested in getting back into real estate. I think a lot of people know that real estate is a wealth building opportunity. It's where a lot of millionaires and billionaires accumulate a lot of wealth is through real estate. And so people, as I think in generally a lot of the, I guess, not as savvy investors wait to see the bump. The savvy investors are there at the bottom, scooping up property. But we've seen that over the last few years, have seen very steady growth in our firm with people investing into real estate notes, and especially a big boom as well into kind of some of the private placements as well.
Scott, you said you've been in contact and touch and networked with tons of brokers, I guess, investors. How do you spot a successful investor? What are the qualities that you see in somebody who's successful investing in real estate?
To me, the people I've seen be most successful are, to some extent, people not not afraid to take a little bit of a risk and kind of go out and find something new and different, as well as I think the successful investor to me that I've seen are people who are fully educated and fully aware of what's going on with what they're trying to do. I've seen people get involved who you can tell maybe don't have as much of a clear understanding of what they're doing. They don't have maybe an end goal in mind either. Kind of in, hey, I was told I should invest in real estate, so I'm going to go buy a property, and not actually thinking it through. What's their end game going to be? What's my exit strategy? And knowing that at the beginning, and kind of what you're looking to get out of the property. So the most successful investors I've seen are really in tune to the market. They're in tune to what they're doing, and they ask a lot of questions. They gather a lot of good information before they get involved.
Scott, do you utilize a self-directed IRA or invest in any type of real estate products?
I do a little bit, yes. I dabble. I can't go too much in detail on what we do, but yeah. But no, but yes,
what you got, man? What you got?
Yeah, but yeah, but no, they're great. It's a great opportunity. I mean, I'm not certainly the people who work here. We're not immune to. We see all the deals that come through, so it's we get almost as educated as we educate other people. Because we see so many different deals that come through and people that contact us with their different strategy or different scenario. So.
Before we jump into those questions, what type of education do you give your students? Do you do webinars? Do you do trainings? Is your website full of education? How do you educate the consumer?
All of the above. We do a lot. We do live classes at our offices in Tampa and Atlanta, but obviously we realize that a lot of people this day and age, especially, and our client base is outside of that area as well. We can work with anybody anywhere, so we do a lot of webinars. We have one probably once every week or two. Sometimes we bring on guests. So we do webinars, we do live seminars. We have a YouTube page where we have recordings of our old information. Our website certainly is a plethora of information as well, with different articles, blog articles. And I think the best education at times is also just simply calling our 800 number and talking to someone and going through your specific scenario. Because you can watch a class, you can watch a webinar where we're going through an example of what someone might do. But a lot of people have those very specific questions related to their individual situation that it can best be served by just simply calling us to get the answer.
So how do you think your company stands out above other self-directed IRA custodian companies? What makes you guys different?
I think what makes us different specifically is really our commitment to customer service. We have what we call an account manager system. It's like a concierge style customer service that everybody who has an account with Advanta is assigned to a specific account manager. That's one person, that's one point of contact. Anything they need regarding their transaction, they simply call that individual. It's not a matter of calling an 800 number and finding out who the next available person is to take your call. You know exactly who you're emailing, who you're calling, and that person works with you on each and every transaction that you do. So every time you're making an investment, you know who you're working with, you get to know them. They also get to know you and the types of investments that you make. So it's that, I think, really what sets us apart. We are very committed to that customer service aspect, that the customer comes first, and really being quick with our service as well. We know a lot of custodians can be a little very deliberate in what they do and not as responsive, and we really have been the antithesis of that. And really, you call in, we're going to get that transaction done for you, that investment as fast as possible, give you all the information that you need as well to get that rolling.
Jake, that's an important point, Jake, because I've worked with other companies and I've done, talked to them, and a lot of them drag their feet, and it's a scary process. Correct, Scott? When somebody's doing this for the first time, they've never done it before. You do. It sounds like you do the hand holding for them. You walk them through the process. Correct?
That's exactly what we do, especially on that first transaction, because as you mentioned, it's new to a lot of people. It's something that, again, you grow up and you have your funds, and as you invest, you've been told that mutual funds and the stock market is where your funds need to be. So when you start investigating and finding out, I can invest in real estate, I can invest in, private placements, it's different. And for some people, they take that leap of faith, no problem. But for others, it is something, okay, this is outside the norm. I really need to get my I's dotted, my T's crossed, make sure I understand it. And that's what we're there for, especially on those first transactions, to say, here's step one, here's step two, et cetera, to make sure they're engaged and they're involved in every step of the process. And I think when you do that, it helps for us to build trust with the client, but it also helps them to really thoroughly understand then what is going on. And so they start to go do their second, third, and fourth transactions. Now it to them is no big deal.
It's funny because that's one less piece of the puzzle that you have to figure out as a syndicator or somebody who's raising money. You don't want to worry about how getting people's funds. It's hard enough to get people committed. The last thing you need to do is scramble and get all the paperwork done. So that's a huge commitment, a huge service that you guys provide. That is excellent.
Right, and what we do with syndicators and people offering private placements as well that we've worked with over the years have developed working very much on developing that process, and it goes for real estate transactions too. Just the single family home, of developing that process and sticking to it and letting the client know up front what that process is going to be, what's going to be required, so that there's no surprises along the way, there's no hiccups, and just making sure that this when things start. When you start getting too many bumps in the road, when people start to get either nervous or start to wonder what's really going on. So our goal is, again, part of our customer service is to make it simple, make it easy, and it helps put people at ease that, yes, this is what you told me was going to happen, and this is what is happening.
This is the $1 million question. Why don't more people know that you can use IRA funds to invest in real estate and other alternative assets?
Yeah, I think the biggest reason why is that most individuals, if they have an IRA or they have a 401k through their employer, a lot of the 401ks companies simply you put your money in with a brokerage firm or with a bank, holding mutual funds or holding stocks. Those companies do not allow for you to invest in these alternative assets. It's a business decision on their part. It is not an IRS rule. So they've made the decision as a brokerage firm that we only want to handle and hold those investments that we sell. That's how they make their money. They sell mutual funds, they sell stocks. So they're going to limit you to making sure your investments stay there. So as long as your funds are with that firm, they are not going to tell you. It doesn't make business sense for them to say, hey, did you know you can go invest in real estate, or did you know you can invest in some type of private placement? Because if they tell their clients that, then obviously people are going to investigate that, find out it's possible, and probably take their money and go elsewhere. So the reason why most people don't know is they're not being told by where their funds are currently held, and unfortunately a lot of people aren't looking for it. They're kind of they're investing their money into their IRA, their 401k, putting their head in the sand and hoping that in 30, 40 years that money's going to be there and have grown. You have to take more of an active role. So that's, again, people don't know because they're not being told.
Scott, I had an aha moment about 8 years ago when I found out, and I had some colorful, responses. What kind of responses have you heard from people once you tell them? Is it almost disbelief and anger at the same time? And, what's going on here?
Yeah, every now and then you get somebody that's like, oh, yeah, I knew about that. But more often than not, it is somebody saying, this can't be right. Or, unfortunately, I tell this story a couple times. It's been a few years, but I had a client sit down with me in our conference room and go through the process of getting their account open. And at the end, they said, my advisor told me that this was illegal and you couldn't do this. But I knew that it was possible because my neighbor was already doing it with you. And so I knew that they weren't in any trouble, that this was all fine. So I fired, they ended up firing their financial advisor and finding a different one. But most people, when they first find out and realize it, it's surprising. Again, it's not something they've been told or they've heard about before, but they find out, they use it. And then at the end, the great thing for us is you end up getting this success story of people saying, hey, this is the best thing I ever did, was self-directing my IRA. I'm so glad I found you. It's made a difference for me. I feel more comfortable where my money's at. I'm earning a better return. So, but yeah, that first that reaction a lot of times is like this. There must be some gimmick here that they're missing.
Yep, I felt like that too. I felt like, wow, the whole new world opened up to me. It was amazing. Let's jump into what other services do you guys provide that's different from a regular bank or a brokerage firm?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is we are not a brokerage firm. We don't sell any products. So we do not sell real estate. We don't sell private placements. What we do is basically provide someone with the ability, if they find that alternative investment, we will hold it. So if you're buying an investment in an alternative asset, any income that you derive from that investment would come back into the IRA account. Any expenses flow out. So we provide that record-keeping service, holding those assets that a bank or a brokerage firm is not going to hold. It's our business is much more paper intensive with filling out documents, contracts, etc. That's why the banks and brokerage firms don't want to hold it. Again, they don't make money when you go out and buy a piece of real estate. They make money when you buy mutual funds. So our service is that we're really filling that niche in the market and holding these alternative assets and doing all the reporting and all the record keeping associated with it.
How have you seen the self-directed IRA space grown? Is it grown? I mean, exponentially from when you started?
I think it has, and it was part of the initially people. One of the good questions that we get is how long has this been allowed? Going back to your earlier question, people were surprised to find out that you've been able to do this since 1975, but it really was in the 2002-2003 timeframe when people really, when the market started to sort of the bubble started to get created, that's when people found out you could do this. More people found out you could do this at least. And so since then, and then you had the crash, and of course a lot of people ran away from it. But right now, I think the real estate seems like it's a much more solid foundation right now for the growth that we've seen. And people are definitely coming back. And again, it's not just real estate. There's a lot of other things that we do, but real estate really has been the driving force. And we really have seen it grow quite exponentially in the last year or two.
This question you might not be able to answer, but I just was wondering, do you know what the size of the self-directed IRA space or the 401k pension money is in the United States that people can tap into?
The last number I saw was regarding IRAs was somewhere around $7 or $8 trillion within IRA accounts. So yeah, quite a bit. That's just in IRAs. I think when you add 401ks in the mix, you're looking over 20 trillion, somewhere in that ballpark. But right now, only about 3 to 4% is the rough estimate of the money that's being self-directed. So
wow.
Quite a small piece of the pie. And again, I say it in seminars and webinars, I can't imagine that 95% of people are happy with the investment options they have. It's simply that they don't know this is possible.
So I'm not a conspiracy guy, but can you imagine if that money gets pulled out of the stock market, what would happen to the stock? I mean, that's one of the dilemmas. Hey, listen, there's too many restrictions with the 401k, having to get out at 59.5, start pulling out. You have to pull out at 70, and really you're at the whim of the market. So that's just amazing to me. I guess the follow-up question would be, what do you think the percentage of money that private placement, that guys who are raising capital, come from self-directed IRAs?
That's a great question, because that's something that I don't think I can answer because I'm not privy to all of that. Now, that being said, we have seen certainly plenty of private placements be very successful in using IRA funds to do. We had one company locally in our Tampa market. They found out about self-directed IRAs at the end of their first capital raise. Had a couple people invest, but they put together some marketing materials. We helped them do a couple things with in regards to that. And they were able to raise a couple more $1 million. I don't know if it was a couple million or 30 or 40 million or so in that ballpark of additional funds from IRA investors alone. And they were raising several $100 million from other sources as well. So I don't know what the exact percentage is. I just know that we've seen people certainly do it and realize, hey, can be a great source. And not only from the people who are raising the capital saying, hey, here's an additional way you can tap into your current investors. Because that's what happened with the local company, was that they had a lot of people who invested personal money. When they found out they could use IRA funds, those same investors came back and invested more. So for the syndicator, it was a way to raise additional capital from people you'd already sold the investment to. They were already buying in, but also for the investor, it gave them an additional way to purchase more shares, a bigger percentage, and have all that income coming back into the IRA without any tax implication.
You know what's really cool about self-directed IRAs? It's almost like having a PayPal account where you have money in a PayPal account. You don't really consider it your money yet because it's just sitting there, and it's just like the IRA. It's not money that you have to live off of or anything. It's just saved money. So it's so much easier for somebody to turn that money over to you as an investment as opposed to somebody taking money out of savings, and it's just a completely different mindset. That's why I think there's so much potential to raise money from an IRA account. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree wholeheartedly with that, because especially if you're looking at getting it into investment where maybe you're buying in and you're going to have it's a 5-year period or an 8-year period that you're going to kind of have your money locked up. Someone's personal savings, they may be a little more hesitant to let go of some of that money because you never know what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years. They might actually need that cash and want to be able to get it back. But with an IRA, you already know that you're not touching that until you're 60, 65 years old. If this investment can pay off what it's saying and maybe even above and beyond what we're being told, then that's a way, hey, here's a great source of money. I'm not going to use it anyway. I wasn't going to touch this in the case of an emergency. That's a different set of funds I have. So that's something to me that has been, I think, a great selling point with the IRAs is you're not going to touch this money anyway. Let's put it to use. Let's do something different with it. Leave your savings maybe alone and leave that for as your rainy day fund.
I love that because one of my mentors told me that he would raise about 40% from self-directed IRAs, which is huge. And I think that's one of the selling points. One of the selling points to all you syndicators and all you guys out there looking for money, say, hey, listen, you're not doing anything with this money. Why don't we take it, put it in here? It's a long-term play. So that's a great selling point to use.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I agree, and I think it's also a great if somebody who's not using it yet, you're already raising money, you already have your stable of investors that you've kind of have a captive audience there saying, hey, are you interested in buying additional units or an additional investment? Here's another way to do it, and a lot of people go, wow, I didn't even realize that was even possible. They hadn't even thought about their IRA as a potential source, or maybe they did and they called their advisor and their advisor said you can't do that. Which, is, of course, we know is not the case.
Listen, if an IRA is used to invest in real estate or multifamily project, what happens from a tax perspective?
The great thing about investing with an IRA is that any of the gains that you make from your investments, whether it's a single-family home, whether it's a syndication that you're invested in, from a tax perspective, all of this is tax neutral to you. So the IRA earns the income. IRAs do not pay tax on income that they receive. So the IRA, you get a dividend or you get a rent check back into your IRA, no tax consequence to you. When you make the investment with the IRA, a good thing to understand as well is this is not a situation where you're taking money out of your IRA and paying taxes on it and then investing the money. This is your IRA as its own entity investing into the syndication or into the project. So there is no tax ramifications at all to the IRA investor. And again, the plus side of things is that any gains that you make within the account are not taxed as well, and they just go back into the IRA just as your stock dividends would. So that's another good important point to bring up, because a lot of times people will ask their advisor or ask their even CPAs sometimes give the wrong answer, but they'll ask them about using an IRA to invest in an alternative asset, and they get told that they're going to have to pay taxes, you're going to have possible penalties, et cetera, because those individuals aren't understanding that you're keeping the money inside of the IRA, you're preserving all of those great tax benefits. You're just simply replacing that mutual fund with an investment in the syndication.
Scott, do you mind walking us through how the process is when you put your money in IRA and invest in real estate?
Sure, it's very simple, and again, our commitment is to make that process as simple as possible. But the first step for someone wanting to do this, open up an account with create an IRA account. They fill out our application documents, and then they either transfer money from a current IRA or they do a rollover from a 401k account to get the account funded. So your accounts, you've now opened up a separate IRA. You are moving funds into that account, and then once that happens, it's then letting us know at Advanta what you are going to do with that money. What are you going to invest in? And our job at Advanta would be to then work with you. If you're a syndicator, might be working with the syndicator as well to get all the investment paperwork. It's very important that when the IRA makes this investment, whether they're buying a single family home or investing into a syndication, that the investor be listed as the IRA account. So, for instance, it might be Advanta IRA for benefit of Gino Barbaro's IRA account would be listed as the owner of that particular asset. So it's not you as an individual. So the process involved is setting up an account, funding the account, and ultimately then telling us what investment you look to make. And again, we will walk you through the investment side of things and say, here's exactly what we need. Here's how everything needs, all the documents need to be titled. And we've worked with syndicators in the past as well to almost do somewhat of templates for their documents as well. So if you have a subscription document, we can go through it and kind of put all the wording in there for the IRA to get that set up to make that process easy. Again, our job is to keep it going as smoothly as possible.
Now, once the IRA has purchased the property, what happens with the income and expenses related to the property, and what are the ongoing tax implications?
Again, if your IRA owns an asset, any asset, real estate or private placement, the income derived from that investment, the rents, the dividends, all flow back to the IRA account. If there are any expenses, the rules would mandate that your IRA then have to pay those expenses out of the account. The great thing is that the ongoing tax implication is nothing to you. Again, the gains in your account are not taxable to you, just as they are not taxed now. That's an important point I always want to keep driving home. All you're doing with this IRA account is choosing a different type of investment. You're investing in this private placement rather than a mutual fund, and you would not expect to pay taxes on your mutual fund gains. You're not going to pay taxes on your other investments as well.
What types of accounts or monies can be used to be self-directed?
Oh, great question. I mean, any type of IRA, traditional IRAs, rollover IRAs, Roth IRA accounts, SEP IRAs, any former employer's plan. If you have an old 401k, you have maybe an old 403b plan, an old 457 or a thrift savings plan through your employer, you can roll those monies over as well. So really almost any type of retirement account. The only retirement account there can be a restriction on is if an individual is involved in a current 401k with your current employer may place restrictions on your ability to pull that money out. So that's something you have to check with your employer on. But if it's an old employer's plan or if it's an IRA, it can ultimately always be used to be self-directed.
Are there any restrictions on buying real estate in the IRA?
The only restrictions the IRS has on buying real estate in an IRA is that your IRA cannot buy property that you already own, can't be property that you're looking to live in, that you want to use for a vacation. It's got to be whatever you do inside your IRA from a real estate perspective has to be strictly for investment. So if you're buying the property, you need to be buying it from a third party. If you're going to, the property should be rented out, rehabbed, whatever you're looking at doing. You just can't be something you're looking at taking personal use of. There are some rules and restrictions in that arena, and again, it's something we walk people through when they're making an investment. Tell us more about the investment. Who are you dealing with? So we can raise any flags for them, let them know things they need to be aware of.
What type of real estate do people normally buy within their IRAs?
Any type of real estate, really. It's anything with a deed, I like to say, you can buy with your IRA account. So whether it's a piece of raw land, or a single-family rental home, a duplex, commercial real estate, buying property that you're looking to rehab. And then we also, again, as a kind of coordination with what you guys do as well, we see people, a lot of individuals, it may show up on our account statement, not as real estate, but an investment into an LLC or a limited liability company or limited partnership. But ultimately, a lot of those investments our clients make, where they're buying shares in an LLC, they're actually buying, the underlying asset is real estate. So you can buy something that you want to just own and manage yourself, or you can buy into projects where other people are, as you guys do, raise capital and kind of pool people's money together to do bigger and better things.
Outside of real estate, what other investments can be held in the self-directed IRA?
It's sometimes we get this question. It's good to just tell you what you can't do. You can't buy you can't buy life insurance, and you can't buy collectibles. The only two prohibited investments. So outside of that, we see, other than real estate, we see a lot of notes and mortgages. You're an IRA acting as a private lender. People investing into private partnerships, syndications, private placements, precious metals. The list really does go on and on. If it's not a collectible and it's not life insurance, you can do it. So primarily speaking, though, we deal a lot with the real estate, with notes and mortgages, and ultimately a lot with the private placements as well.
Scott, what are some of the biggest questions you get from potential investors and people coming on board as to your company and as to the process of it?
Again, I think the biggest questions we get are, as we talked about, why haven't I heard about this before? But then also, it's just, again, wanting to know what the process is. How does this work? What can I do? What can I do? So understanding from each perspective that's walking the client through that deal, saying, hey, here's what you're going to do first, here's what's going to happen next, etc. I think is important. Those are some of the biggest questions we get, and really, again, I don't know how many times we get that. It's every day. Why haven't I heard about this before? I got your name from somebody. Tell me more about it. But the good thing is, I think once most people find out that this is possible, most people are ready to go and ready to move forward. It's just simply showing them. A lot of our clients are already investing in real estate, maybe outside of their IRA, just didn't realize they could do this inside of the account. So you have somebody who's already sold on the type of investment. You're just showing them a different tool to use in making that investment.
Ways to find the money.
Yep.
Exactly.
So what is your best real estate tip on using self-directed IRAs?
My best tip, I think, is really, and this maybe is more even outside of the IRA, is really understand what you're getting into, making sure you understand the investment. From the IRA side of things, it is, if you're looking to invest, if you're going to do this, just understand that the process, in this day and age, we all expect everything is done instantaneously. it does take a week or two sometimes to get an account open and get that money transferred in to have it ready to use. So if it's something you're thinking about doing, it's wanting to get ahead of the game and get the process rolling so that the money is there and ready to be used for your investment. If you wait till that last minute, it can be difficult to get that done. So that's usually my best piece of advice to somebody who is considering this, is saying make sure you leave yourself enough time to get the investment done, get money transferred. Because again, going back to what we started talking about, that makes the process so much better, and that everything was smooth. You weren't rushing to get things done at the last minute. It doesn't leave a bad taste in somebody's mouth. It's, hey, I planned it out. We got everything done, and then we usually try to just close things that much faster as soon as we have the funds there.
Scott, before we go to a short answer question, I'm a syndicator. I'm thinking about using self-directed IRA money. What is my next step? We're actually at the point right now, Jake and I, we're going to try to do our first syndication. We've got an LOI out right now. It's come back to us. We're going to start the purchase and sale. What is my next step to start, I guess, onboarding potential investors?
I think the next step, it would be certainly for someone looking to do this, is to get in touch with us, and we can let you know what the process is on our stand. Again, setting expectations for everybody, saying here's what we ultimately need from the syndicator. At Advanta, we do not review the private placement documents from a legal or investment perspective. We want to just make sure that we see what they are and help outline how the IRA is going to fit within those documents. So the first step is kind of getting in touch with us, maybe doing some of that work out of the way, and then we can also help you. We can develop a landing page for you if you want to have a place to send people who are interested in the IRA side of investing with your company. It's a private landing page for that particular investment or syndication. So it's getting in touch with us so we can get a lot of that out of the way, and we can also provide you, again, with any type of other information. If you're sending out a letter to investors and you want to have a blurb in there about using an IRA, we can help you craft that language so you're ultimately more successful in attracting the funds. And
now I'm a private investor, and all of a sudden Jake and Gene are syndicating it. I want to jump on board. What would be my step as an investor? What would I have to do?
The first step would be getting in touch with us to get the paperwork started, to get the account opened, and again, getting funds transferred from a current IRA or a 401k. And again, getting in touch with us, we can walk you through that step and saying, here's what you need to do with your current custodian to get that money moved over, given the time frame that's involved. And in addition to that is also for the investor, getting a hold of the paperwork, the subscription documents, the private placement, reviewing those documents, making sure that you're okay with the investment, you've evaluated it, and then working with us just to get the paperwork ultimately completed. So it's not a very difficult process. Again, it sounds difficult to someone who's never even heard about doing this, but it really is a very simple process, and that's what our goal is to help people see it that way.
My last question, I guess, would be: is how long do you think it takes on average for an investor to roll over their funds into a self-directed? Once they say, I'm ready to go, let's do this, Scott. How long do you think the process would take?
Typically, it's anywhere between a week and 2 weeks, and ultimately that depends where your funds are coming from. Each custodian, whether it's a Fidelity, a Vanguard, a Schwab, all have different processes for how they will transfer money and what type of paperwork they require. So we keep a record in our system of kind of what the requirements are for each. We can get money wired to us, and it's probably as short as 2 or 3 days from the time an account is set up. With a Schwab or a Fidelity, a company like Vanguard, they want the original document sent to them. So that process, you're looking more like a week or two. And 401k rollovers, generally speaking, they take probably 2, maybe 3 weeks, really depending on where they're coming from. So once we get an account established, though, we can begin working on all the private placement documents from the outset. We don't have to wait for the cash to get here. We can get all the documents completed, ready to go, so that when the funds do arrive and they do hit, we can then immediately turn around and fund their deal.
Thank you.
It sounds like the biggest thing here is just being prepared. Being prepared when you want to do it. If you have the money, just get it set up so when the deal comes to you, you're able to move quickly and get it done.
I think so. I mean, from our perspective, that is. I mean, it doesn't mean to say we can't take people who got deals coming in. They have just about a week or two to get it funded. We certainly can do things and hopefully speed up the process if that's the case. But again, I think the experience is better for all. When you do plan it out, you do leave yourself a little bit of time to get that done. because then again, you're not feeling rushed. Everything's going very smoothly. So yeah, if you know you're going to be self-directing, it doesn't hurt to get an account set up. You can even do a small partial transfer just to have the account set up and have it partially funded. And when you do find your deal, do an additional transfer rollover at that time to then ultimately finish the project.
One of the big takeaways that I got from this was, I just thought about this solely as real estate, but you're talking about notes, you're talking about mortgages, I guess collectibles, so I can't invest in like a 1989 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr. baseball card, but there's a lot of other options, right?
You can't. I have a couple of those cards if you'd like to buy them, but but other than that, no. It really is a wide open field of things you can invest in. I mean, we've seen clients do so many unique things. For us, we will do our best to accommodate almost any investment as long as we can document it somehow. That's the key thing for us, is documenting it, whether it's from a deed to a note to a subscription document or just some kind of contract. If we can document it, then we can typically hold it as long as it's not, as you said, life insurance or collectibles.
That's pretty cool. Is there any books that you recommend that talk about the self-directed IRA or ways to invest, or any general investing books that you'd recommend for the listeners?
There's always, I think, some great real estate teachers out there that have books and that you could do, and I know you guys have some products as well. Our website, I think, is really good, really great information. We have some ebooks. You can go straight to our website at advanceIRA.com and download those books that give you a good taste of some of the basics on how to invest in real estate, what the process is when you're using your IRA account.
Oh, that's awesome that you're providing that. What's the best way for listeners to get a hold of you and get this process going?
It's very simple. You can give us a call. Our 800 number is 800-425-0653. Can give us a ring. Just call in and just say, hey, you heard about us on the podcast, and we can kind of help you get started from there. Always, it's good if you can let us know where you heard about us from, so we kind of know where your kind of investment you have in mind, or what the reference source is. But you can certainly, again, 800-425-0653. You can also go to advanceIRA.com. That's ADVANTA IRA.com. Again, a lot of great information just already on the site, but then we also have links there for any upcoming webinars, seminars that we're hosting, that you can simply just click on there and click to join. Now, we don't charge anything for our educational programs, so if you want to log on and listen to one of our guest speakers or one of us talking, all you have to do is just go to our website to register.
One of the things that you said that was really cool is that you have basically an account manager that sticks with you through the whole process. So you go back, the same person you speak to every time. We always like, our folks to get preferential treatment. So who's the best one you got over there at Advanta? Who should we ask for when we call him? Is it Mary Lou, or is it Thomas? Who should we be asking for? Who's the best?
You should probably ask for either Jason, Ellen, Chris, Rodney, Corey, or Paul. I can't. I don't know who might be listening to this podcast. They're all. The good thing is I can say with a straight face and be honest, they are all excellent at what they do. And following one of the things we do as well with the syndication is if we're dealing with the same individual, or the same investment, is we put all of the clients with that same account manager. So that account manager is not only dealing with everybody on an individual basis, they're dealing with the exact same investment. So when they see the paperwork come through, they're familiar with it. They don't have to ask any questions about it. It's already good to go. And again, makes it, and especially for the syndicator, you also now have that one point of contact as well.
Jake, I love the landing page. We had a landing page set up
huge.
for ours. Yeah. About a month ago. It really professionals you up. You can send everybody there, and it's just a nice little, it's a nice little bonus, a nice little perk. It makes you look really professional.
Yeah, and we can customize that, and again, we work with the syndicator to kind of add their logo, add their information, whatever they want to put on there, to make it as, again, easy as possible and help you, obviously sell your investment. That's also, free of charge.
Ooh, I like that one. Count it. G-Dad, what else you got?
That's it. I mean, I guess, after the podcast, we're going to get in touch with Scott ourselves. We're going to, start onboarding investors. It's an exciting process. This is like perfect timing for us because we've been struggling with this syndication. Should we, shouldn't we? Are we going to be able to raise enough money? But I think people out there with money in their IRAs are starting to get frustrated. And if you can say, hey, $50,000 here and there, it starts to add up. And I think it's just another avenue for you to raise private money.
I agree. And I think the frustration is definitely a recurring theme that we see from clients. It is, I have money in the stock market, and 1 year it does great, 1 year it doesn't do so well. Things that happen that are outside of their control. So the stock market took a couple-day hit when Britain left the Union in Europe, and that whole Brexit situation had absolutely nothing to do with me, nothing to do with anything I did with my investments. But yet, here goes my 401k account. Or other things outside of my control. And that's why people are really drawn to these types of assets, because they understand it. They understand the people that they're working with, and understand ultimately how what's going to drive their account and what they're investing in. So that's what's so attractive, I think, about self-directed IRAs is you are in control.
I guess that's the last point I want to make, Jake, and Scott just made a great point. Do your due diligence. Just because it's your money, you're putting in a self-directed IRA, make sure whoever the investment is going with, make sure that they've done it before, make sure they have the credibility, and make sure, like he said, what's your exit strategy? Is it a short term? Is it 3 years? Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? Get all these questions answered up front, and make sure you devise a strategy and focus on that strategy within your self-directed IRA.
I like that point too, because Brexit happened. I knew about it, but it didn't affect me because all my money's locked into apartments, right? And at the end of the day, these people still have to pay their rent. They're working. Brexit doesn't affect us. Yes, other things could happen. I get that, but people always need a place to live. With the amount of baby boomers that are moving into rentals now, and the millennials, we're becoming a renter nation. So it definitely makes me feel better than having my money riding that market roller coaster. So my 2 cents. Anyways, Scott, thank you very much. It was great having you, and best of luck in the future.
Oh, no problem, gentlemen. I look forward to working with you, and obviously anyone who's listening to the podcast as well, please give us a call.
We trust that you enjoy the Wheelbarrow Profits podcast. Visit jakeandgino.com, your one-stop shop for everything multifamily. See you next time when Jake and Gino share more of their investing secrets with you.